Hi there, this is Danielle Tremblay of InsightWithAnimals.com, Animal Communicator, here to speak with you today about video 3 in a 3-part series talking about 3 keys that if you embrace them will allow you to more effectively communicate with your own animals. So as a reminder, key number 1 was to acknowledge your own intuitive abilities. Be willing to embrace your intuition, even if it's undeveloped at this point in time, because you need to start with you. Key number 2 is about reminding you to create quiet space in your mind in order to really listen and hear what the animals are saying. If we humans continue doing what we've been trained to do, basically, since, school from our parents, etc., which is think, and not go into silence in our mind at any one time in order to hear the intuitive impressions of what our animals are saying or what's going on around us, then, we kind of block ourselves from truly listening. Key number 3, which I'll talk about today, is about being willing to ask whatever questions are required of you to your animal in order to hear their side of the coin whenever problem solving. It's interesting because a lot of clients will actually hire me in order to ask their animal to please stop doing this, do this instead, or this isn't working for me, animal, you must stop. And whenever I do an animal communication session where the person is looking to problem solve, I explain to them that we need to see where the animal's coming from. Because I get where you, the human, are coming from. I understand your frustration. I'm a human too, so I understand that there's certain expectations we would like of our domestic animals. For dogs, no biting. For horses, keeping us safe when we're on the trail. For cats, being in harmonious, ease and peace with the other cat that lives in the household. We humans have certain expectations, and I get that. But with that said, we got to know where the animal's coming from. Why are they doing the behaviors that they're doing? How are they feeling in their body? So, to effectively communicate with your animal, you've got to be willing to hear key answers to key questions. Here are some quick questions that you can ask, whether you're working through a hired animal communicator or you're practicing your own intuitive abilities and asking your animals directly themselves. But you want to ask things like, okay, why are you doing this behavior? Is there something that I'm doing or contributing unknowingly, perhaps, to you? Am I bringing home stress from work? Is there, too much chaos in the home that's contributing to you doing this behavior? Are you getting enough exercise? Is there something in your diet that, is really, if your diet is really chemical laden, it's a poor quality diet, poor quality food that's contributing to the antsiness or the jitteriness or the nervousness that you've got going on in your body? Or is it are you doing behavior because of a past influence or past issue that you haven't been able to let go of? It's kind of like baggage you haven't let go of yet. Or is there some other animal outside or inside the home that is influencing you, making you upset, making you want to go into hiding all the time, causing disharmony for you, causing disrupt, or influencing you not feeling safe enough in your world to go use the litter box or something of the sort? We got to be willing to ask those questions. And here's the thing. Sometimes when I communicate with animals on behalf of clients, their animal totally misunderstood something their person wanted them to do. They don't quite get or understand why their person is requesting this of them. And to just give them that explanation sometimes is enough to totally shift things for the animal. So, kind of seeing where the animal's coming from. Do they understand what you want of them? And if they don't understand, how can we help them understand? Are they willing to compromise or negotiate on a certain issue? Is there something that we can do for them that would help decrease their stress, increase their happiness in life, and therefore, make them a little bit more willing, perhaps, to meet us halfway in adopting a new behavior? I do find that even though animals, just like people, can adopt habits and patterns, sometimes those habits and patterns are pretty ingrained, and other times the animal is totally willing to change, but they need to know why you want them to change. So let's say you're at this phase in your life where you're not communicating with the animals, you're not hearing them yet, you're still in the old mode of being, which is sometimes ineffective in communicating with them because you're only focusing on their body language and behavior and you're not listening to them directly. But let's say you're in that space. What is something you can do from that space? Here's the thing. You can always tell out loud your animal what it is you would like them to stop doing, what it is you want them to do. Always offer that as a substitute. So you've given, as you invite them to let go of something, you give them something new to embrace as a substitute behavior, and explain to them the whys, why it's important to you that they do B instead of A behavior. For us to just put a demand upon an animal, stop doing this, don't do that, without explaining why, sometimes it just doesn't gel for the animal. They just don't get why we need them to change, and so they're like, well, I don't understand why I need to change, so I'm not going to. Okay, so help them to understand. If you are choosing to effectively communicate with your animals, either through an animal communicator or by embracing the language yourself and learning to embrace your intuitive abilities and hearing the animals, then ask these questions. Gather as much information as you can. Ask them, hey, what's going on with this? And then ask your additional questions. Get an awareness of where they're coming from, where they're functioning, why they're operating the way they are, and go from there. Because when you know both sides of the coin, your own, which you already know typically going into a session, as well as their side of the coin, you have a more even playing field. And from there, you've created a foundation where the two of you know where each other stands, and you can problem solve and explore what else is possible from there. But you both got to be standing on the same field. You both got to know each other's points of views. That can be so huge to helping to create change. Demanding change of the animal may or may not be effective, often isn't. But creating change by co-creating it with them through conversation can be hugely empowering for you both and get you where you really want to go. So effectively communicating with your animal using all three of these tools saves you time, it saves you money, it saves you energy, saves you resources, can often save frustration, and prevent problems from escalating or getting worse over time. We humans have to kind of reach a point in our lives where we're like, you know what, I'm done with the old method of communication, observing their body language. It really hasn't, it's been okay, but it hasn't really worked to the effectiveness or depth of relationship I really want with my animal, horse riding partner, what have you. I'm willing to look at a new method. I'm willing to embrace a new method. So, if that resonates with you at all, and you are at the stage of your life where you're wanting, in this lifetime, not 15 lifetimes from now, but this lifetime, to learn to communicate with animals, then, put it out there to the divine, put it out there to the universe. Universe, what's it going to take for me to have the right training, the right resources, the money required in order to talk with the animals, in order to start exploring my intuitive abilities? Would you be willing, divine, to put everything in place that needs to be in place for me to pursue this? Because I'm ready to embrace more of me as a human. So if you feel that I'm the right teacher for you, can provide the right training for you, two things that I offer: Denver, Colorado localized classes in person, if that appeals to you. For those not local, I offer the one-on-one private phone training. Okay, it's private coaching between you and me. It's where you learn once a week, twice a week, in 10 one-hour blocks of time, for a total of 10 hours total, of learning how to communicate with animals at your own pace. And it's a very personalized course, and it gets you moving right along. And it's amazing to me when I teach in-person classes or the one-on-one training, just how fast people pick this up. They surprise themselves. They really do. And that's because we're already wired to do this. We just have to be willing to pick up that paintbrush and, activate and utilize and practice our abilities. That's really what it's all about. All right, I'm wishing you the best. Happy communicating effectively with your animals.